Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Coffee with Captain. Today's a pretty exciting day. We're bringing on our 2021 sailing crew. In front of the camera, we have Captain Miles. We have the first of our, not necessarily new crew members, but part of the 2021 sailing crew, Russell, the second mate. Chief Mate Jeff Crosby here behind the camera. And Captain Miles, first, let's give an update on what we've been up to over the last week.
Well, the winter crew have been getting on to a whole lot of different projects. There's been, that you've been directing, the varnishing, the engineering, catching up with engineering stuff in the galley as well, technical stuff in the galley.
Chasing out the little bugs of a long-term sit at the dock.
Right, exactly, so that systems could be functional along with just catching up with general maintenance. And so it's these little things that we know are foundational to living aboard, having our safety, having our qualified gear ready to go and not be surprised by it. So as you point out, it's just coming out of mothballs and shaking everything out and making sure that our ideas that it's working is actually true.
Sure. Russell, Robert Wheeler says hi.
Oh, hi Robert Wheeler.
Before we get into talking with Russell, Captain Miles, can you kind of explain how this is possible during a pandemic that we're bringing on a sailing crew?
Well, you created, or we all got involved, but you were the architect a year ago of, almost a year ago, of last year's crew, which had already been aboard for several weeks when the onset of the COVID, so down below cleaning hygiene, individual conduct, this is all a group response. We're fortunate with the ship in a winter mode to be at a compound with a chain link fence. We're not a museum. We're not stuck with a lot of public engagement. So we were able to self-isolate long before the state was shut down by the governor. And then when the governor did shut down, we were already in a bubble, had been a family. And so we're replicating that. But also, we had crew exchanges last year. And those cruise exchanges during the onset of the pandemic were coached and spoken with about their perspective about how they were going to stay clean and preparation of coming aboard. And we had a successful exchange of crew last year during the onset of the pandemic. So we're replicating that this year. All of our new crew have been self-isolating. It's a protocol that is not unique to us. We're just doing it. We have practice doing it, so it's not new. And so that's what you guys have been doing, right, Russell?
It absolutely is, yeah.
Just to confirm.
Now that we're all here, it's like you have been doing what you're supposed to do. Yeah, absolutely.
And then the ground transportation or transportation, being very careful about that process. As I understand it, we've only had one person that's had to use mass transportation. And she's been aboard now for a couple of weeks, just about a couple of weeks. So,
and has been tested.
And has been tested.
Negative.
Yeah, tested negative. So this process, which is not unique to us, but is required to have diligence. So everybody wants to buy into this. They need to drink the Kool-Aid and live by it. So last year we proved it successful. This year we expect to continue to do that. So that's how this is possible. So we're going to rig up and make the boat showable around. And so that's our shtick, is to show the boat. Whether we actually engage with anybody is still to be done. Anybody else, I mean.
Yeah, we've got a couple of months to figure that out.
Right.
Sure. Well, Russell, why don't you introduce yourself?
Sure. Yeah, I'm Russell Moline. I'm the second mate this time around on the Pride of Baltimore. I sailed for the first time in 2019 as the engineer for the last part of the season and really enjoyed that. So I'm very much excited to be back here on board and get to be a part of it again. Been doing the tall ship thing for about 5 or 6 years at this point. Started as a trainee on the Lady Washington, which I know some of the other crew has had some experience with. And then I've just bounced around all over the place. Oliver Hazard Perry, Louis R. French, Golden Leu, Irving Johnson, Geronimo, a few other shorter stints here and there in varying capacities. But it's really great to be back on Pride again and get to kind of embrace the sort of unique standard that she gets to set in having this mission of acting as a goodwill ambassador for the state of Maryland and being able to do things that a lot of other boats are constrained, especially during the times of COVID. We're not worried about bringing students on board. If we're having guest crew on, we're able to be a little more controlled about that. So it's really great to be back and able to participate in an environment that's set up well for COVID and getting to sail a really cool boat. Looking forward to doing all the stuff that Pride's best at.
Cool. I don't think I have a question.
I'm out.
What's the last boat that you were with?
Sure. Just for the last month or so, I was down in Georgia helping out aboard the Harvey Gamage, who just finished up a semester program, and they're in a maintenance period. So I was there as kind of a supporting role as they were dealing with a lot of crew changes. So just there to kind of lend technical support and some leadership to their crew down there. And then before that, on Geronimo last fall, doing a semester trip with students, which is a modern rigged boat, but does sail training. So there's a lot of tall ship crossovers. But, yeah.
Great. So if you will vacate the seat, we'll
Absolutely. Let me out of here. Thanks, Captain Miles.
Yes, indeed. Welcome, David.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
So, David, introduce yourself.
Sure. My name's David Stoles. I'm the bosun this year on the Pride of Baltimore 2. I've been sailing tall ships. My first season was in 2016, so I guess that's about 5 years now. Yeah.
Okay. So, what you been doing in between?
So the first ship I sailed on was the schooner Soundwaters in Stamford, Connecticut. From there, I went to the schooner Adventure in Gloucester, Massachusetts. Spent a winter in the Boothbay Harbor shipyard up in Boothbay Harbor, Maine. And then from there, I picked up a spot on the schooner Bowdoin for their sailing season. And that was about, I guess that would have been right around the fall of 2019. I came here as a deckhand for the first time.
What are you looking forward most to for this time around?
Yeah, so I think kind of diving a little bit more into some of the nitty-gritty of the rig and handling the rig and some of the more detailed maintenance work. There are a couple carpentry projects that I'm hoping to slide my way into. So we'll see how that goes.
Whatever the mate says, right?
Yes, sir.
Next. Ian,
Morning, Captain Miles.
welcome back.
It's good to be back. Couldn't be happier.
So you've had a couple of different roles with Pride, right?
I have.
Talk about that.
My first time here was in 2012 for winter maintenance, and
What were you doing? Do you remember?
leather work and varnishing.
Oh, okay. Leatherwork and varnish.
Leather work and varnishing. I think it was 700 little brass screws all by hand. Good Lord. Then I bounced back and forth between here and the flagship Niagara. That was my last vessel.
Yep.
But this vessel and my career path have sort of paralleled themselves, which has been nice. Where I started on deck, and then I shifted to the engine room, and now I'm in the galley, and I'll be the cook this season. I'm very excited for that. I feel like I've really hit my stride running the galley.
Well, so yeah, because we don't want the audience to think that an engineer becomes a cook just out of hand. So there's a hygiene question that comes to mind. But all kidding aside, you've been working the galley side for a while now.
I think 2015 was my first year in the galley. I was the assistant cook on the flagship Niagara for a couple seasons, and would have been 2016 I got on board Draken for my first gig as the actual cook.
Oh wow, you were. That's right. I'd forgotten about that. So what makes the transition of being a mechanic to being a cook so setting. So good for you.
I like being able to have my fingers in all the little pieces of the pie, so to say.
Oh, great!
So
Not like that. But I get to be part of the crew.
Okay.
But I also get to do my own thing and somewhat set my own schedule. I mean, the meals will be at their own times, but if I have a really long meal, I just get to listen to music, do my own thing.
And that's not so when it's an engineer on these boats.
You have more of a set schedule. Here I was standing watch as well.
Okay.
And
All right, cool. So, yeah, you get to be a manager of your own little world, and that world is so part of everybody else's world, because when you are in a bum mood, everybody's in a bum mood, right?
there are no bum moods here.
No
what
bum
are we
moods?
talking about?
That's your job. No bum moods
No
here.
bum moods.
Great to have you back, Ian.
Excellent. Thank you. It's
Okay.
good to be back.
Thank you.
Christina.
That's me.
You're new to us.
Yes.
How far away are you coming from?
I came from Maui a few weeks ago, and then started quarantined in our tiny bubble for a while. Yeah, that was a long journey.
Yeah. So you're engineer for the vessel.
Yeah. So this was a symbolic handing off from Ian, engineer, and then I look forward to being the cook later when I wash all this grease off. Just kidding.
So how'd you get involved with these vessels and so yeah, talk about that.
All right. I was a student with SEA in 2012. Sailed actually from Hawaii, where I was going to school and living my whole life, across to California, and that was the bug. And I was just like, oh, now time to drop out of school and sail forever, but I didn't. And then later on, I kept getting bit by that sailing bug. I jumped out of college and went straight to the East Coast, which was the first boat I could find, Sound Waters. Also found Dave there. That was cool. And then did that for a bit. Came back to Hawaii. What did I do? Oh, I tried to jump on another boat, but ended up working on a tiny little island instead because that boat had gotten sold.
But you've been because you're from the islands
Mm-hmm.
out there, Hawaiian Islands. You've had quite a bit of time with water.
Yeah.
What were you doing when you were young, doing with water?
Oh, normally I'm in the water instead of on it. Now I can't go in the water because it's cold and stuff. I'm not gonna say full of trash. It's full of trash. It's fine. Still looking for that wildlife. High trash to wildlife ratio. It's fine. Yeah. So normally I'm in the water, snorkeling, free diving, and now diving. I did some scientific diving in school, and now maybe I'll get to dive and put grease on the props every 2 months. Yeah. So usually under the water, in the water, and then a little bit on top of the water. When I was working on a submarine in Maui. After I did some
That's
boat
a
tech
tourist
school.
submarine, not the Navy.
Yeah, not the crazy Navy sub. Just looks at whales and stuff, or cute ship fish. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you for joining us. We're looking forward to having you with us. So why don't you
Yeah,
shift
glad
out
to
with
be
someone
here.
else? There you go.
There you go. Hands shaking.
Hello,
Hi. And who are you?
I'm Haley. I'm very nervous for my first live interview, but here I am. I have my coffee, so I feel like one of the.
You're
crew.
also one of our new folks to Pride of Baltimore,
I
right?
am, yes.
So-
Just got here, an hour ago maybe. Ish. Yes.
So tell us about your career in these here traditional sailing boats.
My career also started on a sea semester vessel. I did that when I was in college in 2018, I believe. And I got bit hard by that bug as well. Also wanted to drop out of school, but figured I already committed 3 years, so just cried to a couple of professors, got a semester knocked off, so I was able to get out of there quickly. And then immediately I just got on another boat. So I've only been on a sea semester boat, the Robert Seamans, and then I spent the last summer and a little bit on either side on the Zodiac in Washington.
So with discovering these vessels through SEA, had there been any boating before that?
Just sailing with my dad on our little boat. We lived by a lake when I was younger, and so that was always like my favorite part of I don't know, childhood life. And then when I was up in Vermont, which is where I went to school, there's no ocean there, but there's Lake Champlain, which is a mini ocean-ish. It's pretty big. So I got on that water as much as possible, sailing. I worked at a boat shop, so I built boats and took them out. Just really liked the water. And now that I'm done with school, got that out of the way, I'm definitely excited to keep going with the tall ship experience.
Develop a career with this stuff. That's cool. That's cool. Also, welcome aboard.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Okay.
Okay.
Hello.
Hi.
Introduce yourself.
I'm Nicole. Hello.
And where are you from?
I'm from Arlington, Virginia, about an hour away from here. I'm a deckhand this season. And,
Right. You're new to Pride.
I'm new to Pride, yes.
But you have other vessels in your background.
Yeah. So I the season of 2019, I was on the Victory Chimes up in Maine, and
Were you sailing with Captain Sycamore?
Yes, Captain Sycamore.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
And obviously I would have been sailing last season if I could have, but a global pandemic got in the way. And then this isn't tall ship experience, but my family and I spent 3 years living on a small sailboat, sailing around the Caribbean.
Talk about that. How far ranging was that experience around the Caribbean?
So we started in Chesapeake Bay area.
Yeah.
And then sailed down the East Coast to the Bahamas, Caribbean, all the way down the islands, down to Suriname and Guyana in South America, and then just came back up.
Wow. What do you think about all that time?
It was great.
Yeah?
I'd love to do it again someday.
Someday do it again?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well,
Yeah.
welcome aboard.
Thank you.
And we're looking forward to having you on board.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Great. Okay. Natalie, how many times have you been with us?
For the season, just the 2019.
Mic up. Yep.
For this. Do I have to?
We need to hear you, Natalie.
Just for the season in 2019, and then I came to visit for a week in March and a week in November.
Welcome back.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be back.
You've been with us for a little bit since the turn of the year.
Yes.
What kind of work have you been working on as the winter crew?
Cleaning, sanding, painting.
Pulling pitch on a seam.
Oh yeah, the deck caulking,
Deck caulking,
some of that.
yeah.
Rolling oakum.
Bolting things down.
Yep.
So, talk about some of the boats you've been with other than Pride.
I started as a volunteer on Schooner Adventure in 2015, and then I was there for 2016 and 2017, and then I went to Clearwater in 2018, and then I took a small break and drove around the country for a bit, and then I came here.
So, before you did your first stint on Adventure, what was in your background that aligned that up?
I was on my high school sailing team, so racing 420s and generally being around boats.
Okay. All right.
So, yeah.
Good. Good. Well, welcome back. We're happy to have you back.
Thank you.
Hey there.
Hello. Say hello to everybody.
Hello, I'm Liam Henry, and I'm also new here. This is my first time at Pride.
So, what are the
So-
boats that you've been with to come here?
So, like a lot of folks here in college, I started sailing. I did not sail on SCA. I was living in Denmark at the time, and I started sailing on some museum boats there. So, like Ian, I've been on a long ship, not a tall ship, a long ship.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed that, and when I came back, I decided I wanted to keep sailing on traditional boats. Fast forwarded about 800 years in technology and went sailing on the Clearwater, and that's mostly where I've been working for the last 3 years.
And you've only backed up maybe 100 years coming to here.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah, so yeah, I've tried, yeah, I still haven't quite gotten back to the year 1000 AD.
Yeah,
but
right.
Eventually, I'll go back to Denmark and
Okay.
hang out there.
Cool.
So, yeah.
So had you been boating before you had your Denmark experience?
Not really, no. I grew up near a lake, but I mostly, nothing bigger than a canoe, honestly.
Well, those are longboats are kind of just big. Huge
Yes,
canoes,
yeah,
right?
they are exactly. Yes, they are pretty much long, very large canoes. Yeah, so
that's the idea. They're fascinating for the amount of energy that's involved with getting masts up, getting masts down.
Yes, yeah, the mast itself, raises and lowers,
and then of course they're rowable as well as sailable.
Yes, but on that kind of boat, you have, I have a boat that's as long as this one, and you would have a crew of like 50 people instead of a crew of 12. So.
Yeah, that's great. Well, welcome aboard. We're looking forward to having you aboard, Blaine.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. So, I think I'm the last one.
Yes,
okay, all right, good.
Great.
Thank you. All right.
And for those of you watching, if you know that our complement is 12 people and you've been counting, you may realize that we're too short. And those two will be here later this afternoon, so we will introduce them in our next Coffee with Captain. And Captain Miles, we're just about to embark in a process called uprig. Can you explain what that process is going to entail from the status of the ship right now to fully operational?
In this modern period of time, the business of building a boat, rigging a boat, and taking it voyaging, such as the Pride story, one of the things that is not always calculated in is what do you do with the boat when you're not going to use it for a while? And the first vessel sailed year-round, so it was only the business of taking anything apart and putting it back together again was about taking care of it and putting it back together again right away so you could continue to use it. The first time she was laid up for a winter was she was about 6 years old. In the case of Pride of Baltimore 2, she started year-round, and we laid her up maybe at year 4 or 5. And there's a procedure to preserve the vessel. You don't just tie it up and walk away. Not this type of construction, that's type of material. So it's a down rig, and we have a lot of rigged down rig, to go as much to a bald-headed kind of condition as we can. We don't take the big lowermost out. And then there's the business of what do you do with rain and snow, and in some cases vessels up in New England will need to worry about ice, but generally speaking, if the boat's not moving around and you're in a still harbor, ice is not a problem. We get a little bit of ice here every now and again. So we have this house that can be seen in the camera. So we got to reverse that.
What's the problem with rain and snow? Because I mean the boat's uncovered for all of the sailing season, so why cover it to keep the rain and snow off for a short period of time?
Well, when you're operational, we have a crew to clean and then we go sailing and it washes itself to some degree. When it sits still, it's aging the same way without the benefit of care. So by covering it, you can reduce that aging because it's not getting the water. Now there's a consequence of that, and there's a drying out that occurs. So sometimes you'll have a protocol for periodic wetting down, but it's a clean water as against the acid rain water. So it's a trade-off. Everything's a trade-off. You're dealing with a grown material as against a fabricated material. So you got the wood boat, and you've got the products that are protecting the wood, be it oil, be it paint, and you've got change of dimension with change of moisture. So always going to have that, but you can manage it to some degree when you apply to the different uses of the boat. The periods of underway with crew, it's always been known for centuries that the vessel's in a better condition when it's crewed up and being used than it is when you walk away. And you can moderate what happens when you walk away and have it tied up through these various efforts. So it's a house that we build up. We empty the boat from down below and we leave it open under the house because ventilation is good down below. This anchor line, 600 feet, that's got to get repacked in the boat into as small a space as possible. And it's out here to be dry and not be down there and block the ventilation. So so there's this, they're trading, we're not going to do this but we're going to do that to accommodate all this. And then there's maintenance. When you do tie a boat up, you have a chance to do things you can't do when you're underway. Even if you have 2 or 3 or 4 days of lay day that you can focus on maintenance, there's certain things it's just hard to do. So the top hamper's been down, it's been ashore, it's stored up, and the top hamper's the yards, topmost, gaffs, boom. And so there's an opportunity to take care of some things or to catch up with wear and tear. It could be as simple as just plain catching up with wear and tear,
which is a lot easier when it's on the ground.
Yeah, for those gear, that gear, it can be done up there, but it's a lot easier
fun.
down
Sandpaper
here.
on a lanyard.
Right.
Yeah.
So we have a 5-week plus period of time to get ready for our first show of the boat, and part of that time will be just before the show of the boat will be the continued crew familiarization with the ship. So we get it assembled, we get the systems checked out, we go out for the first time, and one bit at a time we get familiar with. So this is what Pride does. Yes, this is what Pride does, and you haven't seen anything yet.
Y'all get to look forward to that. Awesome. Well, thank you all for joining us this morning. And as Coffee with Captain progresses, you'll get to watch this process of the cover coming off and the boat slowly coming together and becoming operational. So tune in next week to see the start of that process. And Captain Miles, do you have any parting words for us?
As usual, stay diligent.